This is what it looks like, start to finish, if you've got some base information out there. I have already begun by sticking out in a shared space a directory structure called Patak. Let's see here. Patak November 17th, and inside of that directory structure I would have put all of my files in the right spots. That start, you have to then begin. Directory structure came from the DOT, also out in the K drive in the Civil 3D development. You then must start with this, which is the DOT link. If you don't have access to that, you can just kind of be aware of where your issues are going to be and come into it later. Particularly, you're going to need to have that set up when you begin a project. So you open up an existing file which was based on a seed file. You really want to check for what's most current. This is current as the beginning of the semester, however, and it does not have all of the 3D points flattened out. So you want to be aware of a couple of things on the DOT template. The maximum surface triangle is 200 set in there. That is one setting that's going to change. And the plot settings are set to where the DOT has it. So I'm going to hit close here, waiting for this to come out. All right, it begun through the DOT. You immediately file. You see that you have the right layers. You do file, moving this around here. File, open, because you've already set up your directory structure. You make sure that you're going to the right space, to the right file, and you open it up. Immediately you set up. In this case, you go ahead and set up. You make sure that you have the ability to get the DOT templates. You can close the recovery manager, and you want, in fact, to have the tool space here. You immediately go to settings, go to your drawing, you edit your drawing settings to the right projection. USA, Wisconsin, State Plane Central, US foot. You also would like to change these scales as well very quickly to probably to be 1 to 40. That's mostly what a plan set is. You can go about changing these as need be. If you are sharing data off of a shared drive, in other words, you are going with a surface that someone has provided to you to make sure that your working folder is set correctly. In this case it is, and that the shortcuts folder is set correctly, which it is. At that point in time, you have then access back to home. You push out your tool space. You have access to, in Prospector, any number of surfaces and alignments as might have been shared. So in this case, we'll use this extra credit. You right click and you promote. You now then have a surface. You can give it a different name. My access to extra credit. And I'm going to start to get 4606 extra credit _ tin. So you can actually change these names. You can change styles. I think it will allow you to change that. Now you look up in your surfaces and you see it's there. You can right click, edit your surface style, or particularly your surface properties so you can see it. You want to start getting very good at being able to look at what you have, and then also being good at turning it to no display. There's going to be a lot of surfaces coming your way in a couple of minutes. Zoom extents, there's your surface. You can then either begin, I'm going to take an alignment straight down this ridge right now and let you know that you want to start thinking about data. You want to start thinking about extra layers that are not special layers, that are Z layers. So you can do things at this point in time, begin layers, and begin your layers with Z underscore 4606. Or I'm just going to put constraints. Put them all together. You might give that a different color. And you might set that there. What you would like to have is some sort of reference data that is not just your 3D. Remember, this information is 3D. You would like to have your legal boundary. You would like to have your right-of-way lines. Those are typically can be brought in via XREF or by insert if they're right. They are not. They are generally flat lines. That said, you go about somehow bringing in alignment and naming everything correctly. You remember you can create alignment from objects. That would be one way to do it. You can use alignment creation tools. You can bring it in from an XML. So I'm going to go ahead and make this assumption that everything's east-west. So I'm going to go ahead and do a line right here for my endpoint there. Take it out, 5280. I can take that line, left-click spacebar, rotate it, C for copy, rotate it 90 degrees. And effectively I have right there what my assumption would be. And it's not perfect, my assumption to be what east, west, and north, south is. That's where, for a reason, I am going to run right down this ridge, so I'm still going to come perpendicular into that. So I'm going to go here and go a line from here, perpendicular to there. But you have to soon be aware that as you go ahead and make an alignment, just because these are green lines and they're polylines does not mean they are alignments. They are just giving you some sort of vertical constraint. I'm going to do the same thing here. Something to hit. Line from here, perp. And then you want to do a list and typically check that you're getting things in 3D. If you notice there, it is not in 3D. If you notice there, I'm hitting a list. That is in 3D. That is in 3D. So you really want to change. Amongst the things you can do is hit right click, change properties, and change the beginning and end points to be 0. That's one way to do it. So you want some of this kind of constraint work to be down at 0 elevation. So that one is done. There are other ways to do this, of course. That one there, same thing there. You want to go right click, properties. Make sure that if you get your constraints in there, you are thinking and making sure that you are putting things on 2D if that's what you want. You can do that by viewports as well and viewpoints. Right, so there you have that. You can change it many different ways. Right click, properties, beginning and end point, just so you've got some of that constraint stuff down at the point where you want it. You're generally doing your alignment work in the 2 dimensions. So right there again, just double check as you lay in your constraints. Right click, properties, and you can begin, and your endpoint should be at elevation. There are other ways to do that, but you want to make sure that as you lay those constraints in, right, you've laid out. Now, I am going to go through and use actually alignment creation tools, create an alignment. I'm going to do mine up here at 200,000. I'm going to give it a name, 4606 underscore November 17th underscore main underscore road. This pattern is going to come through. You hit and collect whatever you want to do for your settings. You're now good to go. You're going to tend to do these by fixed line, 2 points. You're then back down to that 2D. I'm going to go from the endpoint there. And really at this point you don't want snaps on. I'm going to go ahead and take that all the way to here. The next point at, take my ortho off, that's F8. Take that to there. All right, and you can start to see at, and I'm going to go shift right click perpendicular to that, and you notice there it did not go perpendicular, so it Actually did not do it perpendicular, but I'm going to leave that as it is. You really want to go through, do this. You have done that. That gives you an ability to pull things when you do it that way. So you can grab this later on and pull it where you want it to be. If you notice there, I don't have this quite correct either. But this is not the way to go about doing it, but you can kind of get things awfully close. That is your horizontal alignment thought in tangents. You can then put your curves in by free curve fillet or free curve fillet with different constraints. You're going to grab the first, grab the second, and give it a solution less than 180. Typically, I'm going to make this a 400 foot. It goes ahead and does it. I'll do the same thing here and make it 600 foot. This and this, less than 180, I'll make that 600 feet. It now has done your horizontal alignment. You have to realize that the problem is going to be you're going to be sometimes grabbing lines on top of lines. So once you get to this point and have your alignments in, it's probably a good idea then to go ahead and then turn that layer off. So go to here and change your current layer to something you want to be drafting on. Not a bad idea to stick it there in the short term. So that means you can go down to the very bottom and turn that off. You notice that your alignment is put on a layer by the DOT. Alright, so now you have an alignment. You have a horizontal alignment. The next step is to do a surface profile. Create a surface profile. You're going to check, that looks right, that looks right. You're going to add that surface. You're not going to hit Draw in Profile View. You're going to hit OK. It looks like it worked. You remember that your starting station is at 200, so when you now go to Profile View, create a Profile View, you go to here, Station Range, 200, that looks around right. You're going to go 1055, so I'm going to begin 200, 10500, create Profile View. Where is your origin? Station 10500. You're good that it's there. Before you run away, you do -V, W for window, overall underscore plan. Give it a window here, from here to here. You then go zoom center, 200,000, 10500, 100 for an elevation. You check, you're guessing it's wrong. ID, the endpoint. You need to move this 1,000 feet to the left, left click spacebar at 1,000 angle 180. You now check it. Does it look correct? It looks correct there. You go to here, and if you notice here, based on my tin, 200, and it's actually not correct. That's 210, so I probably moved it too far. This needs to be ID, the intersection. That should be 200,000 and 10500 plus 25. And come back, undo here. It just didn't update, so I was having a little bit of a conniption there. But the fact is, things you want to check that they're right, so this update doesn't always work. Last thing you do before we take the break, you want this not to be proposed, it is existing. And then typically you do not want these there on there, and you now are ready to actually make your proposed alignment. I'll do that before we switch over here. You're going to go create profile creation tools. You grab the profile there. You have something here. You're going to give it a name, proposed centerline. Hit OK. You now have the tools that look exactly the same. I'm going to go to Start, Fix Tangent from hopefully a known point to a known point. Your tangent is now done. You now have actually a proposed road done. You can then start adding things to that. We will pick it up from here in terms of making an assembly, and a corridor, and then a surface. Thanks for listening.